This video is Cryptocurrency Basics. The purpose of this video is for me to share my knowledge and opinions about the fantastic new technology that is cryptocurrency. I was initially going to make this report into one video, but I decided to divide it into sections because it was just getting to be too long. The first video will focus on Bitcoin. Before we begin, I need to say that I am not a financial advisor. This video is just for entertainment purposes. Never invest more than you can afford to lose, and do your own research and due diligence, whatever that is. One other thing you have to understand is that I have not had any formal training in technical analysis, and there are many other YouTubers who are more knowledgeable than me. But since seriously getting into crypto in early 2017, I've absorbed a ton of information on the subject, much of it from YouTube cryptocurrency enthusiasts like The Modern Investor and Crypto Zombie. I highly recommend their channels for the latest updates in the market. A lot of what I will be covering today I learned from them, especially The Modern Investor, but their videos are usually very narrow in content, and what I have done here is taken the best golden nuggets from the history of crypto to give you a solid foundation to make decisions under. Also, just for fun, in the last video, I will be giving my peak predictions for several coins during the next bull run. You may also want to listen to me because I actually called the bottom of this last bear market about 18 months before it happened. This is a message I posted on Twitter on June 17th, 2017. I think this was before Bitcoin had ever reached $4,000, but it says, prediction, after this year, you will never be able to buy Bitcoin for under $3,000 again. And I was right. Bitcoin reached a low on my birthday of last year of around $3,200, and I never posted any other messages like this saying you'll never be able to buy under $10,000 or under $5,000. I remember last year some guy predicted around May or June you would never be able to buy Bitcoin below $10,000 again. I had serious doubts about that, but I totally expected the price to crash down, and I figured it might get close to 3,000, but knew that it wouldn't go below that. This certainly does not mean that I know everything and am always right. I'm not. I have been very wrong before, and I'm actually going to cover some of those times later. I also want to say that crypto is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is a marathon. I remember The Modern Investor commenting last year, I think, about a bunch of people who left comments on his videos that they put $500 into Bitcoin in December of 2017, where it was at its last all-time high, and they were expecting that by April of 2018, they would be able to use that amount of Bitcoin to buy them a mansion and a Lamborghini. If you have any kind of similar expectations, then crypto and this video is probably not the place for you to be. I think it was Mike Novogratz who said, people who say that we're just in the first or second inning of the game of Bitcoin are wrong, and that we're actually still in the pre-game phase. And I agree with that analogy. It's still very, very early in the space. You know, a lot of people think it is too late to get into crypto, but in my opinion, this is very wrong. So we are beginning with Bitcoin because it is the undisputed king of the cryptocurrency market. There are now thousands of different crypto coins, but Bitcoin is worth more than all the others combined. Bitcoin was invented by the mysterious Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008, and I believe he mined the first Bitcoin in January of 2009. No one knows who Satoshi is. His name suggests that he is Japanese, but many of his messages that he posted while he was getting ready to introduce the world to Bitcoin were posted at times that would have been very odd times of the day in Japan for someone to be posting to the internet. Many believe it would have made most sense for them to have originated somewhere in Europe. Whoever he is, he has never moved any of the first million coins he mined. For this reason, some people think he is dead. Others think he is probably more than one person. I remember once hearing that it was believed that Samsung and some other technical companies got together to invent Bitcoin. There's another rumor that it was created by a bunch of famous cyberpunks from the 90s. I'm fairly certain Satoshi Nakamoto is not just one person because Bitcoin is such an ingenious technological invention that if Satoshi is just one person, he would have had to have been one of the 5 smartest people to have ever lived. So just like any new revolutionary invention, Bitcoin has lots of haters. Here are some other inventions that had lots of haters when they first came out. The automobile, the airplane, the television, and the internet, just to name a few. I think Bitcoin has been pronounced dead by the press literally over 300 times in its 10-year history. And if you take a look at all the financial experts, air quotes, that regularly badmouth Bitcoin, you'll notice that most of them have one thing in common. They are almost all over the age of 65. Earlier this year, I got into an argument with former shock jock Tom Leykis about Bitcoin on Twitter. I think Tom Leykis has been bad-mouthing Bitcoin at least since it was under $500. At the time of the argument, I think Bitcoin was around $5,000. So I offered to pay him $4,000 for one Bitcoin in 2021 because he was just adamant that Bitcoin was worthless and the price would go down to nothing. So $4,000 should be a great deal for him if that really happens. This was his response. Now, I'm pretty smart, but I'm not afraid to admit that Tom Leykis is much smarter than me, and he is more knowledgeable than me on most things, but he is also in his 60s now, and he grew up in a totally different era. So this technology is so foreign to him that it's almost impossible for him and others from his generation to recognize the potential of this new technology. There's also the fact that Tom Leykis is probably pretty annoyed that people are investing money into Bitcoin because that is money that is not being put into traditional investments that he is invested in. So whenever Bitcoin has a big price drop, Tom Leykis likes to run to Twitter and call everyone invested in it a bunch of morons. I'm pretty sure when Bitcoin passes $100,000 and at some point after that has a 25% pullback, he will just go rushing to his computer to start saying and tweeting, "I told you so." Another big objector to Bitcoin is gold promoter Peter Schiff, who is also no spring chicken. He had a debate recently with Anthony Pompliano, and towards the end of the debate, he actually said that he believed that Bitcoin would never get back to its previous all-time high of $20,000. And my jaw just about dropped to the floor when I heard him say this. I mean, I knew that he was there to pretty much discourage people from investing in Bitcoin, but I just could not believe he could actually say something so ridiculous. Here's a chart for Bitcoin for this year. Bitcoin has gone from under $4,000 to almost $14,000 this year. It's pulled back since then, but it's still the best performing asset this year, and it's also the best performing asset of the last 10 years. So I don't know. I mean, it's fairly obvious Mr. Schiff was somewhat knowledgeable about Bitcoin and its history. So I gotta believe he was aware of how well it's doing this year. So I don't know how he could possibly really actually believe that Bitcoin is never gonna hit its all-time high again. I'm pretty sure he lost all credibility with anyone under the age of 50 once he made that ridiculous statement. You can see here that Bitcoin has only had 2 bad years since its release. So a few weeks ago, I tweeted this to Peter Schiff. I said, maximum 2 years before Bitcoin reaches new all-time high. Do you have the guts to make a similar prediction on when it will fall below its 2018 low? And he has yet to respond, which didn't surprise me at all because neither Peter Schiff or Tom Leykis or Warren Buffett or any of the other old timers who like to badmouth Bitcoin will ever answer this question because they know if they say it will take more than 5 years for Bitcoin to fail, they will look like an idiot. And if they say something less than that, it won't take long for them to be proven completely wrong. Another advantage Bitcoin has is if you hold it in a private wallet, it cannot be seized or frozen by any authority. I'll talk about private wallets later. Bitcoin is borderless. It's very easy to move. At just about any airport, there's a limit on how much cash or gold you can have on you when you travel. And I think I read one time that one of the airports in Texas, they confiscate like millions of dollars of gold from people. Maybe they were just wearing too much jewelry. I don't know. But I don't know what the exact amount is, but I know it's not very much. And if you want to move your gold to a different location, especially into another country, it's a big hassle. And I think the limit out of America to carry cash is like 25,000. Well, I mean, you can carry more than that, but you have to disclose it. And if you get caught with more than that amount and you haven't, declared it, then they can confiscate it from you. And I live in China, and here it's 20,000 RMB, which is less than $3,000. If you take more than that with you on an airplane, you have to declare it. And I'm not even sure who you declare it to or how you declare it. I've tried Googling that and can never get a clear answer. But Bitcoin, you don't have to declare it. You just have it in your wallet and take your laptop or your phone with you when you're traveling, and no one can ever know about it. Since its creation, it has performed better than any other asset. And this year, 2019, it's outperformed every traditional asset class. Here's a chart. Bitcoin, 53%. This is back in May. And Bitcoin has gone down recently, but I'm pretty sure it's higher now than it was in May. But it's doing better than oil, tech stocks, real estate. Okay, only 21 million coins will ever be produced. So when Satoshi created Bitcoin, he essentially digitally buried 21 million coins. It was designed so that the same amount gets created or mined, like you mine gold, every 10 minutes. And when a certain number get mined, the production gets cut in half. Almost 18 million have already been produced, which means there are only 3 million left to be mined, and these last 3 million will be mined at a much slower rate. It'll take over 100 years to mine the last 3 million because of the reduction in production that happens every 4 years. According to Google, there are over 40 million millionaires in the world as of 2019. Since only 21 million Bitcoin will ever be produced, this means if every millionaire in the world wanted to own just one Bitcoin, they could not do so. Also, it is estimated that at least 4 million have been lost from people losing their hard drives when Bitcoin was worth nothing. That's in addition to Satoshi's nearly 1 million coins that have never been moved and will never be moved or available for purchase if he is dead, like a lot of people believe. And even if he isn't, he may never move them anyway because he doesn't want anyone to know who he is. Bitcoin is somewhat anonymous, but it can be traced. So anyway, that cuts the total number down to around 16 million. There are more millionaires than that in the US alone. So if you have just one Bitcoin, you have more than the average millionaire will ever be able to own. Of course, for 99% of you watching this video, if you don't already own at least half a Bitcoin, you will never own one full Bitcoin. Even though I said 99%, there will probably be some jackass a year from now who inherits a bunch of money from his aunt and is able to buy a full Bitcoin, and then will probably come running to this video and write in the comment section, "You said I could never own a full Bitcoin." Again, I'm saying 99%, not 100%. Bitcoin is still in the early stages and has lots of room to grow, but the price is already a point where it is out of reach for most people to own one full Bitcoin. I mean, there are a lot of rich people in America, but there are a lot of not so rich people too. A lot of people living paycheck to paycheck, and most people in America don't even have an extra $500 to put into Bitcoin. But keep in mind, it's okay if you don't own an entire Bitcoin or even half a Bitcoin. If you have just 10% of a coin, you will have more than most people on the planet will ever own. I think I heard yesterday, if you divided the 21 million Bitcoins among every person on Earth, that would give each person 0.003 Bitcoin. That's not even taking into account the millions that have been lost. As I mentioned before, after a certain number of Bitcoin is produced, the production gets cut in half. And it's actually a certain number of blocks. For people who mine Bitcoin, they have to solve complex mathematical equations with their mining equipment. You used to be able to just do it on your laptop, but since more people are trying to mine Bitcoin, it becomes more difficult to mine it, and you need more sophisticated equipment and more expensive equipment to mine it. This has to do with Satoshi making sure that the same amount of Bitcoin gets produced every 10 minutes. So the way he ensured that is by making it more difficult to mine the coins, with the number of people trying to mine it increasing. The more people try to mine it, the more difficult it becomes to mine them. But anyway, once you've completed an entire block, you get a reward in Bitcoin. When Bitcoin first came out, the reward was 50 Bitcoin. And then I think it's like 200,000 something blocks that get completed. The production gets cut in half, and that happens approximately every 4 years. So the first time that happened where the reward got cut in half was in 2012. So it went from 50 coins per block to 25 coins per block. And then it got cut in half again 4 years later in 2016, where it went to 12 and a half coins per block, which is what it is currently at now. And then next year, probably in May, another halving will happen and the reward will be cut down to 6.25. And this is done to keep Bitcoin inflationary and to keep its value steadily increasing and not going down. Next fact is that following the first two halvings, prices skyrocketed 1 year later. So the first halving happened in 2012, and well, the way it's worked the last two times is there's actually been two big spike increases. So in 2013, 1 year after the first halving, Bitcoin had a big price jump in the first half of the year to around $250. And then it kind of went down a little bit. And then towards the second half of the year, towards the end of the year, it went up a lot more. It reached around $1,100 or $1,200. And then after that, the price goes down for a while, but never goes down past its previous all-time high. Like it went back down to almost $250. And then the next halving happened in 2016. And then in 2017, the price started going up. It actually starts going up after the halving, maybe even a little before, but then it goes up a lot about 1 year after the halving. At the time of the last halving, I think the price was about half of what the previous all-time high was, and it just kept going up. Then, just like in 2013, in the first half of 2017, you had a big price increase to about $3,000, and then it kind of dropped down a little bit, and then during the second half of the year, it went up again, and then towards the end of the half year, it really went up, and that's when it reached almost $20,000. I think it was earlier this year, there was this one guy that made this video explaining this pattern, and a lot of people kind of got excited by it and it got a lot of attention, but I actually knew about this pattern years ago, back in 2017, and I'm not the one who figured this pattern out. The one who figured it out was actually, I think it was this guy. I was watching a video by him in the first half of 2017, and he was saying how the pattern of what Bitcoin was doing in 2017 seemed to be copying what was happening in 2013. So this is why I figured it would probably crash back down to the price it got to during the first half of 2017, which is around $3,000. Because after the bull market of 2013, it dropped down to around the same price as its high during the first half of 2013. And one more fact before we end this video: Bitcoin can be upgraded. In the debate between Peter Schiff and Anthony Pompliano, Peter Schiff used the argument that Bitcoin will not be successful because it's the first one of its kind, and he said that the first of its kind is never the most successful because someone always comes along to improve upon it. This actually used to worry me when I first got into Bitcoin, which is part of why I've been diversifying my portfolio in other altcoins. And I was worried it might be the MySpace of crypto someday, but then I learned that Bitcoin can be upgraded and improved like any other technology. Also, no coin will ever have the legacy that Bitcoin has. So that will do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Next time I plan on discussing Litecoin and Ethereum. Hope to see you then.